In this second status update video, I will basically just tell you what I've done, what I'm doing, what I plan to do, and what I've got for Christmas. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, or show off about that. I just want to show you just for the sake of my videos and for anyone who's interested. Now, first off, I want to say that I'm sorry for taking so long to record this video. It's just been pretty busy. While Christmas was in full swing, I had several family members come to visit. Like, currently, I live in a family of 4, but the week during Christmas, it increased to a family of 9, because I have 3 brothers and sisters that have currently moved out and they came to visit, and one of them is married and has a baby. So it was pretty tough to record videos, and when I could, I just recorded those 5 videos I made, and then I just took the time to edit them. And doing all that, I was able to get them all down very fast, rather than just recording one, edit one, and then uploading one at the same time, which usually takes a lot more time rather than just doing them all simultaneously. And after I make this video, hopefully I might make the tutorials on how to solve the 6x6 and 7x7, but I'm getting behind in my family videos again, and I need to get caught up on those. Okay, so now on to my Christmas presents. To start off, I got an East Sheen 4x4, and I put the tiles on it that were currently on my Rubik's 4x4, and I had to glue them down because after I peeled them off, the goo lost its effectiveness. And it's pretty good, nice size, you know, basically it's pretty much in proportion to the V-Cube 5 and 6. And it's still not as good as the V-Cubes, you know, it's much better than the Rubik's 4x4 because this has a ball mechanism, and I suppose that allows all the pieces to kind of run into each other. But on this one, it has the core that's like used in the 3x3, Rubik's 5x5, and the V-Cubes, and so I suppose whenever cubes have that kind of mechanism, that core kind of guides the pieces so they don't run into each other much. Although that's pretty much speculation, I'm not sure of it. And I think one of the main reasons why V-Cubes are a little better than the Eachine is because these don't have springs in them. With springs, you can cut corners a little better. And this can cut them, I suppose, but it's pretty hard to do. See, and then with a V-Cube, you can easily cut corners like that. Very simple. And pretty much it's all because of those springs. Now, I actually wanted to try to put springs in them, and it's really nice. You can pop off these center caps easily to reveal the screws. So, like that. And to do that, I needed to get a little washer, and I got out my good old Legos again. I found a little 1x1 Lego. I cut off the bottom part of it, the bottom notches, the stud on top, and that revealed a nice little hole, and which was just perfect enough for the screw to fit into. And then I put a spring, which I got from a clicky pen, and these are very simple to take apart. All you gotta do is just get some pliers and then just pop off this thing like that. And then there's the spring. So I put it between the Lego washer and the top of the screw, but it really didn't work out. It's made several problems. Number 1, the screw isn't long enough, and number 2, these springs just aren't stiff enough. They don't have enough force. So for the cube to be stable, I had to screw the screw down all the way, which compressed the spring in it. And I just cut off little sections of the spring, and I could have just put in a longer spring into it, but the screw's just not long enough. And one time, I didn't have the screw all the way down, and I was trying it out, and the cube literally exploded, and that happened a few times, so it was a pretty big pain to put it back together. And after I first got it, I immediately took it apart and lubricated it. And I was going to try to assemble it like I taught in the V-Cube videos, since it uses the same core as them. And it just didn't work out. Without those springs, you couldn't fit the pieces in, you couldn't snap them in, it just made it too difficult. I ended up just using the instructions shown in the little booklet that came with it. So when I reassembled my Eachine, I just decided to make a little stand for it out of Legos, because as you may know, you need like this cup thing. One guy, I believe, used a Rubik's Revolution. You could probably use a cup and cut a hole in cardboard, but I just decided to use good old Legos, so It's got two stands on the bottom. This is the flat side. And then the edge pieces, these middle edge pieces, just sit right on these to keep it all nice and stable as I reassemble it. So that kind of worked out. Now I've taken off all of the center caps here because for something that I'll be illustrating in a moment here. And another reason why I wanted this cube is because I knew it uses the same mechanism and the same amount of pieces as an Eachine 5x5. So on this cube, in reality, all of the inner layers on the Eachine 5x5 are hidden below all of the other pieces on the Eachine 4x4. That's why it has so many inner pieces in it. And a problem that I described in the videos of how to modify my VCube 6 is that this inner layer can get out of alignment and then you can't move these layers or these layers. So I had seen disassembly tutorials for the Eachine 4x4, but I really wanted to see for myself. And I determined that there's a cubie attached to the core, and the inner edge pieces, the middle inner edge pieces, like shown on this 5x5 here, hidden below, doesn't touch the core at all. But on the V-cubes, they do. So, since they don't touch the core, these layers simply move right over that little cube there. So if you did something like that to a V-cube, when you would turn this layer, the middle layer would move also. And that would create a lot of extra friction to 3 of the sides. But since those edge pieces don't go all the way down to the core, they simply move right over them. And these layers only affect it. So you can see the middle layer is where the screw and those center pieces are. So when I turn this layer, these pieces are actually getting caught on that little cubie, causing the middle layer to turn with it, and that happens on all 3 axes. So I thought that was kind of neat. And the main question is, why didn't the VCube company do that with their cubes? I mean, they could have made a much better VCube 6. And what they did for their cube to counteract that misalignment problem is they added a clicking mechanism so that the middle layer will stay snapped into the 2 layers that are parallel to it, and when you turn a layer, it will release from one of them but stay snapped in the other one. But that doesn't get rid of the problem completely. So if they had just added a cubie to the core, they wouldn't have needed to add the clicking mechanism. And some people say they like the clicking mechanism, but that's only because they're used to it. If they get used to a VCube 5 and a VCube 7, then they'll see that the cube is much better without the clicking mechanism. I used to think the same way until I got my VCube 7 and VCube 6. So I suppose you could modify your VCube 6 with whatever they did in the Eachine, but that would make it much too hard. You would need to cut out huge chunks of plastic out of the middle inner edge pieces. Trust me, it's too hard. It's better to just do my modification where you glue 2 pieces to the center and then you glue pins to the 4 center pieces. It's just much easier to do. Okay, so now on to the next thing, my new Megaminx. Now, I believe this is the worst kind you can get, but it suits my needs because I really only wanted it for the challenge of it. And it's got this clicking mechanism like the VCube 6 had, and it allows all the layers to snap into place correctly. And I've also already taken this apart and lubricated it. It's very similar to a 3x3. It's just that instead of squares, you've got pentagons. So instead of 4 edges, you got 5 edges. And instead of 6 sides on a Rubik's Cube, you got 12 sides. So and instead of getting a white cross on the bottom, you get a white star. And then you basically just do F2L like 3 times until you get up to the top layer. And then you basically just apply the same algorithms that you use in the Rubik's 3x3, but it's kind of tough to do because you have to do them a little differently. And it was pretty tough. I did figure it out all by myself, and I'm very proud of that. And so it was, yeah, I still have a little trouble with it, so it's fun for the challenge, and if I ever really get into this, I may get a better Megaminx, but for now, I'm perfectly satisfied with this cube. And when my mom first saw this, she was kind of disappointed, because, like, there's a line that goes all the way down the middle, and she was sad that you couldn't turn it like this, but It probably would have made the cube much more expensive if it could do that.